What's up guys, welcome back. Today I've got a very special video for you guys. I don't think anybody is expecting it, so here we go. First of all, let's start on this side of the room. If you remember, I used to have a GD shell, which is now gone. I took all the parts off of it that I needed, so now I have so much more room for the GC, which is great. But this is not the point of today's video. Today's video is about my new car. Because yes, I just got a new car, and some of you guys guessed correctly what it was on Instagram, so good on you. But for the rest of you guys, this is going to be a major surprise. This has been one of my absolute dream cars since forever, and if you're anything like me and you grew up with Fast and Furious and the JDM car scene, this is definitely on your list too. So here we go, 3, 2, 1, are you guys ready? Boom! Damn! Meet my new Mark IV Supra. Now this Supra is not just any Supra, it's a Swiss spec version, so it has a few different things compared to a JDM and USDM version. I guess the closest thing would be a UK spec, which also come with the glass headlights just like this one, which hold up a lot better over time, but they only come in chrome and not black, so I might be swapping those out. It also has the Scoop from factory, which I didn't know, but it's actually functional. I thought it was just aesthetic, but those things cool down, I think, cylinder 4 and 5, so they're actually functional and it makes sense to have one. Now in Switzerland, the big thing is the wings were forbidden back then in '94, so none of the Swiss Supras have wings. They were legalized then in 2005, I believe, so now we can put them on, but none of them came with it from factory. Another cool feature about the Swiss spec version is this. So those vents are actually functional. There is a cooler back there which cools down the rear differential. So I don't know if that's stock on every twin turbo Supra, but it's definitely stock on the Swiss spec version. And also the Swiss spec always came with the big differential in the back. If you know a little bit about Supras, you know that there's a big and a small differential. The big one is 220 millimeter, the small one is 200. Usually people prefer the big one, which is found with manual transmissions, but in Switzerland, all of the twin turbo Supras, manual and automatic, have the big one, which is great, so this one has it no matter what. Another cool thing about this Supra specifically is that I am officially the second owner since 1994. So I just bought it off the original owner who bought it from a dealership back then. And that's amazing, combined with the fact that the car is 100% stock except for the wheels, and it's super clean. You just don't find Supras like this anymore. Now moving on to some more features of the car, aside from the god-awful wheel on there, you can see the big brakes in the back. Those came with the twin turbo Supras. So it's got 2 pots in the rear and 4 pots in the front, which work pretty well, especially for the age of the car. Now in the rear, cool feature there, we have red, white, red, which is different than the JDM and USDM cars. This only came in Europe. The JDM, I think, is red, red, white. One thing that you may have noticed right away, aside from the fact that the car is super dirty, is that it is a hardtop version instead of a Targa top. I actually prefer the hardtop because the chassis is a little bit stronger and lighter compared to the noodle chassis that you get with the Targa top. So I'm really happy about that. Now onto the interior. Now, aside from the fact that this is an automatic transmission, the interior is absolutely perfect. There's no scratches, nothing broken. It's all there. It's amazing. Love it. You can really see that the owner took great care of it. Now, I did mess with the carpet here a little bit, but the only signs of wear are on the seats right there, which is normal with leather seats that are 20-something years old. Other than that, the back is pretty standard, so it's all leather in here. Black headliner as well. And another cool feature about the Swiss spec version is that they came with the 300 km/h speedo, which I don't know if it was standard on all the twin turbo Supras, but I haven't seen that many of those online, so I'm guessing not. Now this car also features ABS and traction control, which you can see right there, and in the engine bay as well. So I don't know if that was standard again, but this car has it. One thing that we did not get in Switzerland, just like the wing, is the automatic front lip, which drops down once you go a certain speed. So this car does not have it, but I feel like it's not really necessary at this point. But aside from the transmission, this is the exact spec that I would want. It's hardtop, twin turbo, left-hand drive, and it's even got the Swiss spec package. So it's already got the big diff in case I want to swap for a manual transmission. Hint, hint. If you know anything about me, you know that I absolutely won't be keeping an automatic transmission inside my Supra, so this has got to come out pretty soon. Speaking of coming out, let's check what's under the hood, because let's be honest, that's the best part.
2JZ engine, no shit.
Now, you may recognize this engine. It's a 2JZ GTE non-VVTi. What that means is just that it's a 2JZ from the years 93 to 98. And as you can see, it's partly disassembled. When I got the car, it was fully functional, driving and everything, but it didn't have really a lot of power and it sounded a little bit weird. So I did a compression test and actually I've got the results right there. So this is what came out. I hope you can read it, but what it says is basically cylinders 1, 2, and 5 are good, but 3, 4, and 6 have insufficient compression. And I redid this test a couple of times just to make sure I get the right values. And I got the exact same value every time, so 3 cylinders are definitely low on compression. Now don't mind the exact number because the scale is not correct. This is the wrong paper for the tool that I was using. So it's just a little bit different, but I just wanted to check that all the cylinders were somewhat in the same range, which they're not. So I definitely have 3 bad cylinders, which sounds like a lot, but it could be the head gasket, which leaks between, let's say, 2 cylinders, so that would throw off the compression on 2 cylinders already. Or it could be valves, or in the worst case, it would be the piston rings, which are bad, but I kind of doubt it. This engine has 180,000 kilometers, but it shouldn't be to the point where the piston rings would completely fail. Now, I also checked the timing already, which lined up perfectly. I thought maybe if something skipped a tooth, it could reduce the compression on 1 cylinder or 2. But unfortunately, nothing like that. So I have to now take off the heads and see if the valves are bent or what happened in there. So that's what I'm doing now. I've got some parts already on the table. So we've got the ignition, the coils, spark plugs, all that stuff, some covers, some hoses, and the fan over there. That was just to free up some room because now ultimately I want to put it on the lift and just drop everything from below just like I did usually with this car. That will be a lot easier to access all of the intake manifold and exhaust and all that stuff at once. So now that you've seen the car and you understand why it's so special to me, I hope that you're as excited as I am, and it wouldn't be a proper video if I didn't do any work on it. So I'm going to set up the time lapse, and hopefully by the end of the video the engine and transmission and everything will be out of the car, and we can look at the heads. So let's do it. Alright, so I think the engine is finally ready to be dropped. Obviously, I've never worked on a 2JZ, so I don't know if I'm missing anything or forgetting anything, but it looks pretty good from up here. You can see there's nothing connecting the engine to the frame on this side, and same on that side. So there might be something in the back that I don't know or can't see. It's really tight. This engine bay is meant for small hands, and I've had so much trouble getting to stuff. Everything is so crammed. The worst part was probably the wiring harness because there is no connector that disconnects the inside to the outside. So basically you've got to fish all of these connectors through this little hole down there and down to the ECU. So I actually had to go inside the car and disconnect those connectors straight from the ECU. And then fish everything back up. So yeah, it's been a process. I didn't film all of it, but I think I'm finally ready to get everything out. So let's just do it, see what happens, and I hope I didn't forget anything. We did it. The engine is finally out. Everything went super smoothly. I don't think I broke anything or forgot anything except for the wheel speed sensors, which I did forget at first. Then I noticed and went back and undid them. So they should be fine still. But other than that, I didn't forget anything and I'm pretty sure the engine is fine. So yeah, pretty happy. This is a 2JZ for those who have never seen one. I doubt nobody knows about those engines, but still, it's a pretty cool engine. It's massive compared to an EJ. When you pull an EJ, it's pretty much just a block and a few other things. This has so many other things attached to the block. It's insane. It makes it really hard to work on when it's inside the car, like all the bolts down there, which you cannot access when you're on top of the engine. So yeah, pretty happy it's out. And next step will be tearing it apart and checking the heads. But for today, I think that's where I'm going to leave it. So here you got a quick look at the 2JZ and the automatic transmission. Underneath, the chassis looks really, really good. I can't find any rust on the shell itself. There are a couple of brackets like the one up there, which are a little bit rusty, but that's no big deal. And other than that, it's a perfect shell and it's going to be a perfect engine. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna leave it for tonight. I'm super happy about the car. Bummer for the engine, but oh well, that's what you get with a 30 years old car. So I can't wait to see you guys' reaction, and I hope that you'll stay tuned for the rest of this build. It shouldn't be a crazy build, but I want to get it on the road as fast as possible. So we should see an engine rebuild very soon. All right, thanks for watching. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.